Now, you might be looking at this pile of flashlights going, he's got a major problem. No one needs that many. You have no idea how right you actually are. Okay? That's not even all of it. So what I'm going to do in this video, and it's going to be a long one, is I am going to cull every single flashlight in my collection. If it's discontinued, it's gone. If it's not good enough to be worthy of consideration, it'll be gone. We're going to break it down by brand, and we're going to go through it as quickly as we can. And this is probably going to be the most comprehensive overview of my entire collection I have ever made. Let's get started. So because I have so many flashlights, I'm going to break this into 4 sections. The first section is going to be keychain and smaller chargeables. The second one will be compact everyday carry. Section 3 will be large everyday carry flashlights. And then section 4 will be like holster and like larger house related flashlights that I still have in my collection. And they will be ranked based on whether they are the best in their current category at the moment. If they are a staple, meaning they do a great job, it really comes down to preference. They are passable, meaning that I would buy one or be happy to get one, but it's not my top pick. Or it's just something that is outdated, discontinued, or just something you shouldn't buy, and I wouldn't buy again. That's how I'm going to break it down. And pretty much everything that's below this line is likely going to be culled from my collection. Okay, with that, let's get started on flashlights. We'll begin with this. This is the Olight I-Mini 2. I actually really like this light. I like the magnetic attachment. And honestly, this would have made it into the best flashlights at the moment if it were not for the fact that it is not waterproof. And it unfortunately came up because I thought it was. I wore it kind of like as a necklace light so I could just quickly get light when I needed, which was super convenient. But because it's not waterproof, it just falls in that staple category. It's a great light and you can sometimes get them for free, but not my favorite. The i3E, it's a single mode flashlight. It's a very simple one, and usually you can get it for under $10, but there are better lights at that price. It is, however, passable. The diffuser, which is one of the most confusing of all lights in my opinion from Olight. It doesn't have a pocket clip. It does have a nice output of 700 lumens, and it has a great side switch, but I'm not sure it's small enough to carry on a keychain. It's certainly a passable light, and I like the UI. I just feel like it doesn't fit in any particular place. In fact, I would have taken a standard barrel-shaped flashlight with a pocket clip with this side switch UI, and it would have been phenomenal. But as it sits, it's kind of difficult to carry, and so it's kind of passable, at least in my opinion. The O-clip. Honestly, I love this thing. And actually, a lot of people I let play with it also love this light because it is Type-C recharging and it has red light along with a max of 300 lumens. It's a great light. Another one of those slick offerings from Olight, and it works really well hands-free. You can clip it onto a shirt pocket, onto a button-down collar. You can clip it onto a belt facing away from you. It's just a very versatile light and it's definitely good. It only makes it below the line because, once again, it's not waterproof. It's IP, I believe, 54. And maybe that doesn't matter to you, but I want to be able to depend on my lights even when something bad happens. And it just, for that reason, it falls slightly below others. And there's some more competitive lights that I think do a better job at what the O-clip does at basically the same price. All right, so let's move on. We have the EDC 15. Now, this is barely a keychain light, but it's basically the only way that you can utilize it. It can run either a 14500 or a AA. I actually really like this light, and I really like this price. It comes in under $20 and is definitely a staple in my opinion. And the smaller version, the EDC 01, is quite simply the cheapest and probably most efficient keychain flashlight with a AAA that you can buy on the market. It comes with a diffuser, it comes with a clip. That is absolutely one of the best lights you can buy right now because they are consistently under $10 with 3 modes and a decent output. All right, I got some repeats in here so we can throw those aside. The next light we're going to talk about is the Well, this is basically the S1R2 Pro. No, am I have this right? Anyway, these little keychain lights from Olight, they have a bunch of different names because they usually come out with them as promotional content for different anniversaries of Olight, but they have a 2-mode setup, usually 5 lumens and around 180. What makes them so good, in my opinion, is their durability and the fact that they don't have parasitic drain. I have not charged this in years since I got it, and it's still holding a charge with no issues, and they tend to be under $20. These are definitely some of the best out there. I've had other lights of the same size that do not hold up the same way this one does, and it is Type-C recharging, which is a very nice thing with a cap that does not come off. So all of these things are great. It's IPX8 waterproof, just a solid one, absolutely solid. Okay, so this is more of a novelty light. I don't even know if we can really call it a keychain light. This is the GT Nano from Lumentop. I have 2 variations. One is in copper, the other one is in brass. These are very heavy. They are thrower flashlights, and believe me when I say they have insane output. The problem is that the only way to charge them is to take off the, well, especially with this, is to take it, unscrew it, and then you have to have a proprietary cap that is micro USB in order to actually function with it. I wouldn't even call these passable. I would just call them a skip. They don't have Type-C. They're very inconvenient, and if you lose that little component, good luck. You now have a dud of a flashlight that can't be used. So don't buy a light that requires a separate component just to be able to charge it, ever, no matter how good that light ends up being. Okay, let's pull out some of the Rovivon flashlights. So I have some older models in here kind of mixed in. This one is the, let's make sure I have them in the right. All right, cool. So we have 3 different variations. This is the A6, the A5, and the A8. All 3 of these, without question, are some of the best lights in existence for the price. They have insane output, maxing out at around 650 lumens. Most of these have, all of these I should say, have side lights. This one has UV red and warm white that is high CRI. This one has 2 white emitters that lets it get up to 70 lumens on the side, but all of these have magnetic clips, multiple ways to attach them. This actually has a magnetic attachment here. They are the best keychain flashlight, and generally speaking, a good EDC, compact EDC as well. They can reach a very high output. The turbo, which is activated with just a hold press and is momentary, is fantastic on these lights. So I could show you like that right there. So you can access the turbo right away. Pressing it one time does nothing, so you can't accidentally depress it when it's hanging out on your keychain. They are IP66, and yeah, they're just fantastic. And the same thing is true with pretty much the entire Rovivon line. Now this is the A3, which is the aluminum body, and it has a little bit more output and capacity, but the whole lineup is really good. I usually keep my clip in reverse, and I actually usually glue it because then it becomes a dangler for my keys. Love these lights, cannot recommend them enough. Just make sure that you are getting the most up-to-date generation. Unfortunately, on Amazon and other places, they still list older models, and it can get rather confusing. It's my only qualm with them is that they do not get rid of old flashlights, so it always ends up being a little bit more difficult to buy one. Now we have the I-Mini, which I really liked. If it weren't for the fact that it has little disc batteries that have to be replaced and they're disposable, I think this would be one of the coolest lights out there. But still, even with that, it's a fantastic little light. I can't help but put it in this category. It's just so small, and I love the magnet. Here's a really cool trick. I actually can attach it to my glasses, and I could do that also, by the way, with the I-Mini 2 as well. It just doesn't quite stick on quite as well, but I really liked being able to use it hands-free. That was actually a really cool thing that I could do with both of these lights. So I definitely gotta rate them in the staple category, even though this one has disposable batteries. And they're not that easy to find. The rest of the lights in here are just duplicates, but this is my general consensus on keychain flashlights. When we get to the next category, you're gonna see there's a lot more we need to talk about. Okay, now by comparison, I have a massive ton of flashlights in compact EDC category. So be prepared. This one is going to take a while, but I'm going to try to run through it as quickly as I can. We'll kick things off with one of my favorite AA's in existence, the Welltool T1 Pro Tac. 22 or 23,000 candela, 550 lumens, a true tactical flashlight that's very, very compact. This one is one of the best that you can find at the moment. Not even close. All right, moving on from there, let's talk about the new Rider RX 2.0. Basically just improved in every way, including being less expensive. It is a very simple UI. It's not my favorite one by any stretch, but it's not bad either. This is certainly a staple, and I don't think anyone should be upset at getting one. The MT1A Pro, which is a brand new light from Nikkor, may be quite simply the best AA overall in existence because it has 800 lumens, 15,000 candela, 3 different modes, a great protection for the button with these 2 little fins. It can tail stand. It's got a great reversible clip. It includes a 14500 that's rechargeable, blah, blah, blah. It's awesome. Okay, moving on. I know, I got to run through this very, very quick. The i3T2, they just basically improved this in every possible way. It's a phenomenal light. It's less than $20, and there is very few AAAs that come anywhere close to it. The Convoy T3. It's a big body for a AA, but it's programmable. You can basically pick any emitter you want. Outside of the clip, this is one of the better AAs that you can find on AliExpress. I definitely have to keep it in that staple category. All right, going to an 18350. It's just a little outdated, but it is nice that it has a Type-C charging port on the back. They are waterproof. They do have a reversible clip. It's certainly a passable light, but there's just better lights on the market right now. Speaking of better lights on the market, the PD25R from Phoenix, one of their most popular lights for very good reason. When it comes to hardware, it's almost unbeatable in 18350 form. My only gripe with it is UI. I don't have instant access to Moonlight using the side button. I always have to come in on whatever I was last. And what if I'm on the low and I have an emergency? Well, I'm gonna have to fiddle with this to cycle through. And because of that, I don't feel like they took full advantage of the double button. Either way, it's still a staple based purely on hardware and output alone. The Raylight LAN. Okay, so this is, I believe, discontinued. They have since adapted a hybrid between the Pineapple and the LAN. And so this one is now discontinued, but it was a phenomenal light. If you still can get one and you like this finishing, it's certainly a decent pickup. The new SC13 from Sofirn. This is a great example of a light that basically outshines the T1S. Okay, it's a little bit shorter. In my opinion, it has a slightly better clip. The only thing that I found with this that's worth noting is that the button stands a bit more proud. So as long as you orient the pocket clip correctly in your pocket, you shouldn't have an issue accidentally turning on the light, but just be aware of it. Definitely a staple. Okay, I am not 100% convinced that all of these are still in production, and I'm fairly sure the titanium variation of each of these has been discontinued, but these lights, they have amazing output and a perfect UI, near perfect UI. So when the head's fully screwed down, you get turbo or you get strobe. If you untwist the head, now you start at low always. No mode memory, very easy to actuate. Love this light. Same thing is true with the CR123/16340 variation. All right, let's talk about these. The MicroStream. This is one of the most popular flashlights on Amazon, and it is the most overhyped, overpriced flashlight on Amazon as well. It is barely passable at best. It's IPX4. It uses micro USB instead of Type-C. It has a very crappy clip. In my opinion, the button has some issues. Maybe that's even a positive because it is very hard to depress, but I have had family members who literally cannot turn the light on because of how hard that button is. So for me, it's passable. I have a whole video comparing this to the i3T and why I don't think this is worth the money. But yeah, that's where it sits for me. The i5R is the perfect example of outdated, overshadowed by basically everything else. It has a proprietary battery that doesn't really work very well. It doesn't take a 14500. It's very low powered, period. Don't buy the i5R ever. Okay, unless they've updated it since you're seeing this video. The Wurkkos TS10. Now this is an aftermarket clip. It is the same size as the Baton 4, and it works perfectly, by the way. Fits like a glove. This thing has like 1400 lumens, high CRI, triple emitters, and even has auxiliary lights that you can get in different colors, so you can always find your light in the dark. Very, very cool. Endurial 2.0 on this. If it were not for the distance the button travels or having a longer lip, I would probably carry this more often. Also, it doesn't always come with a battery that has Type-C charging built into it. However, it is available, so if you have the right battery, it can work out to be a good light for you. The Perrin Mini 2. Easy staple on this one. They basically improved everything. It has red light, which is awesome. It has a great output. Yeah, it's good. It's not the best light out there from Olight, but it's pretty good. The Lumentop Tool AA. This is the new variation, and it works great, but it still has the shittiest clip of any AA ever. Like, what the heck? Can we please get something better? Just, come on. I mean, even if they just take the one that's on the well tool, this would be significantly better. You could see the difference on it. First of all, that doesn't do anything. Your pocket's not fitting in, and it's not even, anyway, I'm not gonna get into this. It's still a staple. That's how good this light is. Even though it has the shittiest clip imaginable, it still makes it there because the hardware is really good. Just be aware, it's not a lot of aluminum, so it does get hot when you're on your maximum mode. Overall, still quite good though. The Skillhunt M15V3. Now, the thing with both of these lights, I used to like them a lot more, but my problem is that the batteries are not Type-C rechargeable, and there isn't enough of a reason for what they're offering to go with one of these over something that has less proprietary nature. So I put them in a passable category, but I certainly wouldn't buy them again, given the choice. I don't think they really go particularly well. All right, so the i3T, which seems weird to bring up the older generation, but it's still made and it's still really good. And at only $17, it's still comparable to itself. And yeah, it's just a good choice. You can sometimes get them for like $12. All right, the Phoenix E12. This is the V2. It is passable. Yeah, some people really like this light. The clip's not that great. The output's very mediocre. They did improve it with the V3. That might even make it up to the staple category, but cannot use the 14500. I don't see a reason why you would skip out on that at this stage of the game. Okay, so the Sofirn HS10, another great flashlight that works with a right angle. I also have a clip on here from the Baton 4. It's the same basic size. It's a fine light. It's a fine light and a good choice. I can definitely recommend it. That being said, the H-beam, the Ace Beam H16, definitely the best of the bunch. The UI is damn near perfect because you have to double press to turn it on or hold press for a long time to get moonlight, and then you can then go from there. It is a true EDC flashlight that is damn near perfect and even has a magnet in the right orientation to use the O clip. I just love this thing. If you can find it for a good price, it is arguably one of the best. They have two different types, one that's 1000 lumens, but cool white, and then they have a high CRI at around 550 lumens max output. So great light, cannot recommend enough. I have both variations. Here's the 1000 lumen. Both are top tier, no question. Speaking of Ace Beam, the Pokelit AA, one of the most popular lights on Amazon right now. This thing coming in at 16 bucks is damn near unbeatable. at that price. Something like the Nightcore, yeah, it's better, but this is nearly $50 versus 18. So it's still top tier without question. Okay, this is a great light. This is the LAN Apple. This is the hybrid, basically, we were talking about from Raylight. If it were not for the fact it didn't have a double-sided clip, I'd carry this light all the time. It's programmable. The emitter is the 519A, so it has excellent high CRI. The fit and finish is gorgeous. You have a spot for tritium if you want. The button is covered, so you can tail stand it. Yeah, it's just a great light. So close to being the best, though. So close. The TAC AA from AceBeam, another awesome flashlight from them, but it's not actually a tactical flashlight because it's got mode memory and doesn't start on turbo. So it's good light. It doesn't have a reversible clip, and it's not actually tactical. So it's just a staple. Very impressive on stats. Very good prices. It's just it just doesn't quite get there. Now the Sofrin SC12 Pro. I know we're flying through this very quickly. Feel free to ask questions down below. Definitely still a great light. The clip is not excellent with it, but it has Type-C charging built into it versus the smaller AA variation. I actually think in some ways this is better. It is one of the reasons why lights like the Thrunite, I think, fall behind quite a bit. In my estimation, this is just a phenomenal light, okay? Okay. The A28, specifically this model. This thing is a beast of a light. It has 1,000 lumen output. It has all of the versatility you can want with a magnetic attachment, reversible clip, side lights, UV, red. It's got the full bells and whistles, and it's fully waterproof at IP68, I believe. Just a home run flashlight, and it's tiny and compact. Once you get used to it, it's just a home run. It's just such a good light. Same thing is true with the Arcfeld UV. Although it is magnetically charged with a proprietary system, it's still so compact. I was tempted to bring this up to the next category, but when I compare it to some of the lights on the table, it's actually easier to carry even than something like the AceBeam TAC AA or this Phoenix over here. So for that reason, I mean, it's got to be one of the best you can find in that size category. I wouldn't buy it, however, unless you're already invested in that Olight magnetic charging system. Okay, what else we got in here? So this is some repeats. We have also some flashlights from Manker. Came out with the new E05 Mark II. This thing is a monster. 1300 lumen max output. The only issue I've found is that even in the aluminum, it does get really hot on the max output mode. But that tail switch, man, one of the best in this entire group. This is damn near a perfect tail switch. Whew, I love it. If they ever make a reversible clip, I will carry this quite a bit more. And then on top of it, if they ever come out with a better UI where I could access the lowest and the highest instantly, I'm sold. Still, great flashlight. Wouldn't be upset with having it. Okay, what else we got in here? So we need to cover, already did those. So the Skillhunt E2A, it's fine. It's just very outdated compared to the other flashlights and a little bit expensive. The Thrunite T1 Pro, fantastic light, but it's head enabled only, and it just feels like there's so many better options out there. It's great output, don't get me wrong, it just feels a little like there are better options. The Saber from Thrunite, incredible pricing on this. They have a couple variations now. One that's the BSS version, I think, has 1,000 lumens. It's probably a little bit better, but I still only call it passable, even though it does have a Type-C recharging battery and it tends to be under 20 bucks. I mean, there's so much competition in the space, right? And I feel like the Pokelit AA just trounces on it, especially because it has a better clip and a better switch. And more emitter options. So just a lot of that's going on right there. The Sofirn SP10 Pro. This is another staple flashlight, and I think it's a little overshadowed by the SC21 Pro because it doesn't have a Type-C port, but is really good nonetheless. Okay, so continuing on, we got a few more to get through. Thanks for bearing with me. The next one is the Fenix LD02. I love this light. It's an older one from Fenix, but the high CRI, it is like 3000 Kelvin. It is one of the warmest emitters out there, and it might be deceptive. That 70 lumens actually goes quite a distance. It's very, very focused. And on top of that, we have different modes that are really, really great, including a UV option, which is really awesome. And if you ever have a Parker Jotter, this clip almost perfectly matches. And just check out the finishing on this. Wild. I mean, it is so quality. Like, the quality on this is just phenomenal. I can't rate it lower than the best. I really can't. It just feels so premium. The price point is so good. The finishing is amazing. The UI, I mean, I love it. Everything about it. Love that light. So good. All right. Now, another light that we're not talking about, no one's talking about, is the PK27. It's a weird light. It's actually a thrower, but it uses 2 AAA batteries. And you can actually take it apart, take one battery out, take this off. Oh wait, I got it wrong. I got to take the middle one out. And it actually can work with just a single AAA as well. So this light is really cool. It comes with both body parts, so you don't need that. And if you use a older i3T clip, which is what I have here, I just attached it. It's a really cool flashlight. It's a very, very cool flashlight, and it has a lot of output. I like the modes. I like its function. I think there's someone out there that will really appreciate it. I don't know if I can just put it in the staple because there really isn't any other light on this table that does what it does. And compared to like the thrower we talked about for the keychain in the last section, this is quite a bit better. And it's really reasonably priced. I'm actually going to put this all the way to the top. This might be a little bit of a throw for me, but I definitely feel like that with this light. It just sits above anything else that does what it does. The Tool AA, the Tool AAA, I mean, it's passable, but you have to, for some reason, be sure it has to be AAA while also being a pocket clip enabled. That's not very good. And keychain, it's a weird light. It just doesn't quite, it's like purgatory. It doesn't do anything particularly well. It's, yeah, that's all I gotta say. Now there's a Raylight Pineapple Mini. I have both variations, and I'm not gonna open the other ones right now, but imagine this is both of them. These are some of the best flashlights on the market. If you are into good UIs, emitters, finishing, whether you're getting the titanium or the aluminum, these are fantastic. They even have different caps that actually bury the tail switch. You can adjust and put on to other flashlights. I have mine set up with the clip on the opposite side, which you can do with the smaller variation as well. Regardless, the Raylight Mini Pineapples, all of them are top tier right now. They can use either a AAA or 410, 440, reaching 240 lumens. They're just great lights. Yeah, enough said. Now I'm going to finish off with the Zebra lights. I haven't heard much about these guys since I bought them. They're some of the best UIs I've ever experienced. Great hardware. If they just were easier to find, I would be more excited. But I'm pretty sure these are impossible to find and are discontinued. Otherwise, I would rate them quite a bit higher. Maybe even the best there are. Speaking of that, I'm going to finish things up with the Baton 4. Without question, this is the most universally appealing Olight that is currently made. And with the charging case specifically, this is arguably the best Olight that they make. It can charge this flashlight 5 times in the case. It has a battery indicator that also works as a switch for the light. It can charge the Perrin Mini 2, which is amazing, and it can charge your cell phone because it's a power bank. Unbeatable, in my opinion. The best thing that Olight makes for everyone. Now, it's not my personal use case that I use the most, but it is top 3 without question. So here's where I sit on this subject, and it's kind of nice to see it all laid out. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are down in the comments. Now, after recording this 4 times, I realized that I needed to have the lights where they needed to be prior to starting it. It's just too big, too much space taken, and I think this also gives you a nice snapshot of what my feelings are for all of the lights. There'll probably be some real questions about why they are where they are. Keeping in mind, the goal of this is to eliminate, for me, everything that is below this line. So let's start at the very bottom. The first thing are these 3 flashlights, the Warrior Mini, the Warrior Mini 2, and the M2R Pro. These are some of the best lights that they ever came out with, but they are all discontinued. I don't need to keep those at this point. They're in my collection, but there's no purpose for them because they've been made obsolete. Now, the next 4 are all proprietary charging tech from Skillhunt. Now, why I've given up on this system is simple. They have a magnetic system that appears to corrode over time, especially if you're using it heavily. It's something I've not run into with the Olight system, and for that reason, I can't really support them. Now, these with the 18650s can also use a pair of CR123s. That they are more versatile, no question. They do have a great setup. I actually enjoyed them when I reviewed them. They just are not something that I'm going to end up keeping, regardless of how good they are as lights. The other one we'll talk about briefly is this PX9 from Coast. It's huge. It's kind of low powered, and the UI is just not good. Let's just start there. It is, however, waterproof, so that's something. Okay, moving up to the next category, we have the Seeker 4 Mini. So unlike the most recent Baton Turbo, this has a weird orientation for the pocket clip. With the crenulated bezel, you put your hand into your pocket and you scrape yourself constantly. Not to mention, it's very easy if you're trying to carry it upside down to rip this out of your pocket. And so for that reason, I didn't like it. I don't need it in my collection, and it's not enough of a reason for the proprietary system. There are other lights that don't require me to commit to that proprietary charging that give me a lot more functionality. And in many cases, I would rather carry a larger light if I'm gonna take up this real estate already. It's really this dimension that matters the most when it comes to flashlights and how easy they are to carry. So that's why that's there. The Slayer from Coast, hardware-wise, I really like it. What I don't like is the UI. I don't like the pocket clip particularly that well, but UI specifically is why this doesn't get a pass. It does, however, have IP67 waterproof rating, but yeah, starting out in medium, not being able to turn it off once it's on unless you cycle through all the modes, it's just a weird one, to say the least. The Nikkor MH12 Pro. Now, I don't like the UI on this light, but I admit that it's one of the more powerful 21700s I have in my collection. The issue is that this was released as one of the earliest models using this new technology, and it has an issue with heat dissipation. Very hot, gets very, very, very hot. So for that reason, it's definitely not something I need to keep. The EDC 27 has a similar problem. Once again, we have those types of LEDs, I believe, in here, maybe. 3000 lumens, but it gets hot, and I mean fast. It also has issues with a sensor where it can't detect that something's in front of it, and sometimes it thinks there's something in front of it, and there isn't. So it has some issues that need to be worked out. And for that reason, it's down here, but that's the only major reason. Otherwise, it's a phenomenal light. The Baton 3 Pro. At this moment, there is zero reason to ever buy the Baton 3 Pro for any reason at all. This is a strictly worse flashlight than the Warrior Mini 3. There is barely any difference in length, and this has significantly better versatility, a better clip, like it just a better button. It does better everything. It's better everything, period. It's just so much better. Not a question. There's no reason to have the Baton 3 Pro. No one should be buying that flashlight ever. There is zero reason for it to exist. They could just discontinue the model entirely, period. Okay, the Streamlight ProTac 2LX. Not a bad light, just outclassed by so many lights in this arrangement. And the price is really high. I love the way this clip is set up because it is super comfortable in the pocket and it doesn't get caught on anything. But outside of that, it's really underpowered and it's kind of expensive. Not a good combo. That's basically where it is. Just outdated, if you will. The Thrunite 2A V3. I had moved the clip from here. There was one over here. I think it was like reversed. Anyway, the clip setup is really dumb on this light. I ended up having to move it in order to make it pocketable. It's an okay light, but there's just so many weird things about it that make it obsolete compared to other flashlights. The i5T Plus, just not good, just that simple. The Acebeam E70, it's a weird one. I don't like how easy it is to accidentally depress the button. The UI was a little strange. It's just a weird one because it has this kind of crenulated bezel as if it's supposed to be a tactical light, but it's really not. So it's just weird. It doesn't really fall into any specific category and it just never gets carried. All right, let's move up to ones that pass the mark. Some of these might actually move down in the near future. We may even want to do a more thorough ranking within these flashlights, but it's hard because they all do slightly different things. When it comes to eSwitch flashlights that are for true enthusiasts, the FW3A and the, what is this called? The KR4, 4 emitters, 3 emitters. These are really impressive. Endurial 2.0, I believe in both, but by far the Lumitop is my favorite of the two, being so much more compact. This does reach 4,000 lumens though, but not for very long. I just think these are more of enthusiast lights. They don't have reversible clips, so they don't have the hands-free functionality. They're very cool, and I'll keep them, but they're for a very specific group of people. This is arguably one of my favorite Phoenix flashlights, the LD12R. It is a AA or 14500, but it does have great output, and it has a side light that makes it excellent as well. It has the protection for the switch. It comes down to the pocket clip. This entire thing is sticking out of your pocket when you carry it. If it were not for this pocket clip, if I could like move it all the way up to there and it was a metal clip, oh, that would move instantly up to the best of the best. Baton Turbo, great light. Actually, I think it's growing on me a little bit, but we'll leave it in the staple category. The Slayer laser, unlike the regular Slayer, this thing is much better. It always comes in on the high, which I like. It has a momentary laser. It has magnets. The clip is fine. The body is nice and durable. Cool, great light. Sofirn's IF23 went viral when I posted this video. They sold tons and tons of them. I think for very good reason. It works as a power bank. It has really bright side lights that are colored or high CRI. You have nice output on the front. It has reverse charging, as I said, for power bank, magnetic tail that connects to things. Just a nice light. I didn't think that the smaller variation was nearly as versatile, in large part because it's basically a waterproof power bank, right? The SC32 from Sofirn, also, it's a very compact light. It's about as close as you'll get to a Warrior Mini 3, but still a little bit wider. Does not have tactical functionality in that you instantly get access to turbo, and the switch is a little bit easier to press than I'd like, but still, I'd say overall, it's a very good budget option out there, and it has a Type-C port built into it. The high CRI is definitely the one to go with, and even the clip is decent, so awesome. The Arcveld Pro, definitely a staple. It's not in the best because I was wrong about this light. We'll talk about it when we get to the Ultra. The BSS V5, actually there's now a V6. I gotta see what the updates are. But even with that, I'd say the V5 is phenomenal. This light is great because it has a red lens that can be screwed on and a really aggressive crenulated bezel that you can attach as well. A very good light for the people who are looking for that type. And the UI is ideal for this purpose. The tail switch always activates turbo as it should. And then the side switch can be used to activate all of your other modes when you need them. I am a big fan of this UI, and more lights need to use it. That's simple as I can say. It even has a double lockout. The FC13, good light. The more expensive variation of this with Endural 2.0 can also do reverse charging, even though it has a 18650. I like that particular model quite a bit more, and that's the one that I would rate here. The less expensive, I would skip. There are better options out there. The WK03. Now, speaking of less expensive options, this thing can regularly be found for less than $20. It is one of the only 18650 flashlights that I found for that price point. It does have Type-C recharging. I wish it had a reversible clip, but even though it doesn't, it has a magnetic tail. I still think it's a great light. Without a question, a staple. The EDC 25. It's like the 27, a little bit less on the functionality. It's a lot cheaper, and they got rid of the issues with the heat and the sensor. I really like what they've done with this light. It's damn near close to being one of the best. If they had a better clip, or the clip connected at the top and went the opposite direction, I probably would have put it up here as well. Another great light that could have been, but isn't, is the P16. These two switches make for a decent UI, but the issue is that there is some weird funkiness where if you hit both at the same time, it goes to SOS instead of, a strobe or whatever you were trying to get to. And because that mode exists, and I've done it multiple times, I can't rate it in the top, even though it has a great clip, great output, just an awesome flashlight outside of that issue. The HD11, this thing has a rotating head while still being completely waterproof. It normally comes with a longer body. I've added an 18350 body instead, which they sell as well. Type-C charging and a magnetic tail. Just a really great light. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on it down below. Convoy makes a bunch of lights. They don't make great clips. Clips are absolutely awful, but the fact that you can pick the emitter, you can pick the driver, you can pick the UI, you can do so much with these things. On AliExpress, they're one of the best all-around 18650 flashlights, and yeah, it's certainly a staple. From Welltool, we have the T2 Pro Tac. This thing is a true tactical flashlight. It has incredible output and candela rating. And the thing I like the most is how well it manages its heat. If you look, you can actually see directly through the light. I've never seen a light manage the output that this thing can do. It stays on that 1800 lumens. I think it's 1800 or 1600, longer than any light I've ever seen at this size. So I'm very impressed with this. I love this light. Maybe it should have been up at the top. The only problem, and the reason it doesn't make it, is because the button is a little too easy to depress and it's not protected. If it had some sort of, collar, something like this, it could tailspan, it would just be far more versatile than this one is. Unfortunately, it just kind of fits in that staple category. The GTA from Lumentop. Using a 14500, this thing has insane long reach. Okay, so it is very much a thrower. It is a AA powered flashlight. It's currently using a AA, and it's still very, very bright. Incredible versatility for a light that is a pocket thrower. If it weren't for the crappy clip, I probably rate it a little bit higher. And believe me, that matters because that clip pops off. That clip doesn't go in your pocket. Too much of the flashlight gets exposed. I'm not underplaying it. Clips really matter. All right, the HD15 can be used as a power bank, 18650, multiple emitters, reversible clip. It's just a great light. It's not for everyone though, but it is a great flashlight nonetheless. And then the last two are the Warrior 3S. This was one of my favorites, except it has been outclassed, in my opinion, by another light made by this company. So great light. A lot of people really, really like it. I don't blame them for that, but I do think they should consider the light I will discuss when we get to it that makes this a little obsolete. And unfortunately, there are also other lights from other companies, I think, that do it equal or better than. An example would be Thrunite. Their UI is basically the same, but they don't have a proprietary charging system. And also Nikkor, and this is an example of one of those lights. This thing has a magnetic lockout switch. And when I say this thing is bright, I am not joking around. This thing is truly insane. This is the EDC 33, I believe, yeah. And it does have issues with heat, just like the other ones that we talked about with this LED. Yeah, but you're not gonna need the light for very long to get the effect. Yeah, that's about as far as I can go. That's how hot it gets. It gets hot very, very quickly. That is the only downside to this light. I love the tail switch. I love the hidden USB port. Yeah, there's a lot to like about this light, except for the issues, the inherent issues of using what is essentially a hot rod. Okay, now we're gonna work on our best of the best category. Number one, probably my most carried Olight, is the Warrior Mini 3. It's everything I liked about the original, just completely upgraded in almost every way. The better clip, the better output, sensor, a far better tail switch. Yeah, this thing is a rock. This thing is just amazing. It's so compact. I mean, like, looking at it compared to some of the AA powered flashlights, it's only slightly bigger. And it could only be possible with the proprietary charging and the proprietary battery. Otherwise, it would be impossible. You would have to make it at least as wide as the SC32, which has a secondary tube to allow the tail to communicate with the head. That's the only way it's able to be so compact. Amazing. Equally amazing, I think the MT2A Pro is close enough in power output to even be competitive with this. In fact, it has a higher Candela rating at 1000 lumens. The only issue is UI. If UI here was comparable to this, obviously this is better, I would likely switch completely because this can use off-the-shelf AA's. That's how good this light is from Nikkor, genuinely. Moving on, we have the ArcFlex and the ArcFeld Ultra. This is where I was completely wrong. Well, let's talk about the ArcFlex. This is a light that I didn't expect to love as much as I do. It's the light I use the most when we're in my shop because I can clip it on a hat this direction, fold it down so I can look into drawers very easily. When I'm working on a project, I don't have to manipulate my head. I can just adjust it to where I'm already looking. And so for me, from convenience, this is just so amazing. And because it's so flat, even though it goes under the bill, it never gets in the way of my vision. It never bumps my head. It's just a really, really excellent flashlight. One of the best that Olight currently makes, in my opinion. Speaking of that, the ArcFeld Ultra, I was wrong. First of all, I missed some key upgrades from the Pro version that I should have mentioned. The clip has been significantly improved. It is a lot thicker, a lot stronger. Not a lot, but definitely noticeable. And we have replaced the plastic lens with a glass one. That is a significant upgrade because when you get schmutz on a plastic lens with how hot these get, it can actually create a hotspot on the plastic, melting and deforming it, which will eventually lead to issues that would need a warranty replacement. But a glass lens is not going to have these issues. Great improvement there. And then the last part is the finish. I did not give it nearly enough credit. If I really had thought a little harder, I would have realized just how much better than titanium or any other material this actually is. We have the heat conductivity of aluminum, while also having the hardness of even titanium or even higher. In fact, I saw a video from Last Best Tool showing where it couldn't get scratched by a pick that was 65 HRC. I had no idea it was that hard. So hard, in fact, you can actually use the surface finish on this thing to hone a knife blade, because most knife blades are well under 65 HRC. I mean, obviously it's not going to sharpen Rex 121, but you can even see some of that metal coming off from the blade, and this thing is now wicked sharp. It's not going to sharpen a knife, but it would hone a knife, among other things. I'm not saying it's the primary reason, but that gives you a nice illustration at just how insane the finish is on this light. The weight difference is not all that much, but it is certainly noticeable with everything that you're gaining, along with the 100 lumen improvement. Regardless, it is definitely a better light than the Pro. And what I want to see now at this point is not an update to the Pro. I want to see an Ultra, and then I want to see a shorter version of this exact light that focuses on weight. Then we have something truly, truly spectacular in the EDC world that I might just switch to completely. I'm okay with losing a little bit of runtime, but having a much lighter, more compact light, that has some real advantages, and I would certainly like to see it. Okay, so the next one is the TS25 from Wurkkos. This is a home run for them. Great clip, great body, great heat dissipation, 4,000 lumens of output, high CRI, amazing UI, Type-C recharging, and it works as a power bank reverse charge. So it's 5,000 milliamp hours with a 21700 battery. This is an 18650. This is a 21700. This actually is much cheaper and brighter than this light, and it has a reversible clip. This is their home run light, in my opinion, that's large, but still EDC pocketable. If it were not for the fact that I can't get it into most like organizers, sheaths, sheath organizers, I would probably carry this a lot more often. But I think it's needed for the heat dissipation. Regardless, the magnetic tail, everything that entails, okay, that was a weird play on words. This is a phenomenal light. If you can find it on sale, which sometimes they're as low as like $30, pick one up. You will not regret it. It will also be a great way to learn that user interface. Now this is the light that I put in my holsters because it is uniform in dimension. The Baton 3 Pro Max. Unlike the Baton 3 Pro, this is the light to get. This is the light you should be keeping an eye on from Olight. This thing has crazy run times. Over 2,500, I believe 2,600 lumens. It is wonderful up close because it spreads that light so far. It has a great clip, and yes, it is actually light enough to carry and put on your hat. That really is quite impressive. It's not that big of an issue to have the magnetic charging because of how long the flashlight actually lasts. If you're not running at full blast for a long period of time, which you probably wouldn't, it's gonna last your whole trip. And I think that's why it ends up being in the best category. Initially, when I started this, it was here, but I keep coming back to how versatile it was for me, and so I would definitely keep it. Now, the next two lights are from a company we don't talk about much. These are the Nextorch TA30C and TA15. Both of these lights are fantastic. They have a rotary switch UI, which doesn't require any explanation whatsoever, and for that reason, I really, really, really like these lights. As you can tell, they are truly geared toward tactical use, but I think are very practical also for emergency scenarios. They have glass breakers built into the front. They have high output. This is 2,000 lumens. Not super impressive on their performance, but their versatility is unmatchable, especially when we're talking about this flashlight right here. This can use a AA. It can use a AAA. It can use a 10440. It can use a 14500. It can use a CR123. It can use a 16340. It can use it's ridiculous what this thing can do. This thing is like the battery versatility champion, even more so than another light we'll talk about, which is the ProTac 1L1A, AA, I should say. This light is ridiculous. And it is definitely one of these things that flying under the radar. 700 lumens max output, but still has the tack functionality, but you can always access the low modes with just the rotary switch. If I really would like to see this little clip be designed for the TA15, because that lets you use it hands-free. You can clip that right on your pocket and rotate it. But either way, they still make it up to the top. We're almost there. The FC12, I have it set up with a small 18350 tube, but this thing has an incredible output. It has an excellent UI, and it tends to be very inexpensive. There's just not much out there like it that nails the UI, the clip, price, just everything. They really is a good entry-level tactical flashlight, and it actually is a tactical flashlight. So I like the updates that they came out with, and it does, as you can see, work with the small body. I simply glued on a Baton 4 clip. It's not exactly perfect looking, but hey, it works, and it has a Type-C port too. Still, even though it's old, this thing still ranks at the very top because it doesn't require any real explanation on how to use it, and it can use both a AA and a CR123. It can also use a AAA technically if you use some kind of spacer. And because of its battery versatility, its IPX7 waterproof rating, its excellent clip, and its availability, I definitely think you have to consider the ProTech 1L 1AA as still a top tier category. If it could use a 14500, if we got an update where it could incorporate all the battery types we have with the TA15, well, that would be quite impressive. But overall, I still think it's really good. The Skillhunt EC300. This is the only light that I know of that doesn't have their proprietary system. It has a Type-C port. It can reverse charge, and it also has a bunch of really cool modes in it as well. Blue, red, green, to go along with everything else. So I really like this light. It's very, very bright as well at like 3,000 or 4,000 lumens with a high CRI. It's definitely a good consideration. I would never sell it because I think they've done a really good job. And then the last one is the reason why the Warrior 3S, this is why I had this all set up, is not in the top tier. This has a lot of competition out there from different companies. We've seen a couple of them. The Javelot, that's not really the case. This thing has over 100,000 candela. It has the new switch. It has a recessed metal side switch. It has access to moonlight when you need it. In addition to tactical modes, it has a holster that comes with it as well. Did I take the holster? Yeah, here it is. It comes with a holster so we can use it as a duty light, something that the Warrior 3S does not come with. Overall, I think it's a better light. And when I carried it in my pocket with the clip in the opposite direction, I didn't notice this head as much as I thought I did. Would have, I should say. And for that reason, I think it makes it to the top tier. It's one of those that really justifies the magnetic charging system. I would, however, like to see what they have in their other lights where it's a hybrid between their magnetic charging and Type-C at the same time. Wow, that's a long one. That could be a video by itself, but bear with me, we are almost there. All right, we're now ready to talk about the big boys, and this is going to be a lot faster than the last category. We're kicking things off with the TS32, which could be the best home flashlight except for one major issue. When you get it, there's a little piece of paper between the batteries and the head. You have to take it apart and put it back together. I have 3 of them, and after hours of tinkering and messing around, I could only get one of them back together and make it work because of the way they have set it up with this little plate in between. It is absolutely one of the most frustrating things ever, and I can never recommend you buy one. So we're putting it in that skip it category until they fix this problem, because otherwise it's phenomenal. 1,500 milliamp hours with those 3 batteries. It's a power bank. It's got 15,000 lumens. It's got a searchlight. It's got the things. It's awesome, but no one can use it. So therefore it's, don't do it. All right. The Thrunite Catapult Pro. Staple. Could be best at the moment, but I think there's just too much competition in the space. There's just way too much competition in this space. And there are plenty of lights that do more or are brighter that also work as power banks. And you're gonna hear me say this a lot with this category, but all of these lights should do that. Otherwise, they're just not as good as they could be. It's a big, big thing. It's a big thing. All right, the Seeker 4 Pro. I think I got 2 of these in there. Yeah, here's the other one. So Seeker 4 Pro. This is absolutely a staple. Having the built-in Type-C port really makes this usable. I love the sheath that it comes with. I love even more the fact that it has the horizontal sheath, so you can use it hands-free, but it doesn't come with it, so it's an extra 15 bucks. It's a staple, no question, but certainly not the best of the best, okay? Now, you know what is the best of the best, though? Is the new Warrior X4. So this thing has only 2 modes. So it has 300 lumens or 2600 with almost 100,000 candela. It has the magnetic switch at the back that is magnetic charging, but it also has a Type-C port built into it underneath the collar. Now this is what I'm talking about. Not only that, I think what really makes it, in my opinion, is this holster, because you can pull it out sideways very easily, put it back in. You can pull it up, which will cause this to rock up slightly, allowing it to come out and go back in. It's a great duty light. And yeah, it would be a good car light. It'd be good for a lot of different purposes. I think it's definitely one of the better ones out there overall. I really, really believe that. There isn't much competition. And one of the reasons why the Thrunite is not so good is there are really inexpensive flashlights that are fully programmable, like the Convoy L21B. You can pick the emitter, you can pick everything, and these lights are just really, really cheap. I think it was like $20, and it's still almost as powerful as that Thrunite. Certainly a staple. And that's also true with the Convoy C8+. This thing is a rocket, and I think this uses an 18650. So it's the equivalency of this light, kind of, but is the smaller battery variation. Still very good. Whoops, okay. This one is in the wrong place, but I'm not gonna bother refilming it. I will tell you that the TN12 Pro, damn, this would absolutely, and I'm just gonna put it right here so people know, is definitely one of the best. Unlike the BSS V6, this light can be found regularly for less than $40, and it has that excellent UI. It has a recessed side switch button. It's just really, really good. And more importantly, it comes with an SFT40 emitter with like 1800 lumens and a ridiculous amount of candela on top of it. So really good light. It's in the wrong place, but just trust me when I say it's worth keeping. The larger HD20, it's not really an EDC light. It has a 21700. It's like the smaller variation with 2 different emitters, and it can work as a power bank. So it's a good light, but I did find that it has a little bit of an issue managing heat. So for that reason, it's passable, but only just like missing the line from the staple category. The Seeker 4, one of their few lights that is truly Type-C capable. And this is a waterproof Type-C port, a really good option, and it's also a thrower model compared to the floody Seeker 4 Pro. So that's one of the biggest differences, and I like it. I do kind of miss not having the magnetic tail, but you know, it's still pretty good. The Warrior X Turbo, this thing is a complete rocket. So 270,000 candela on this light. It only misses out, I think, on being just an older system, right? If we had the collar, which almost looks like the right collar that's on this light, but on the Warrior X Turbo, where it has both Type-C and the magnetic and slightly improved output as well, my goodness, that would be, without question, top tier, top tier. And then the last one is the Ace Beam E75, the competition with the Seeker 4 Pro. This one has a Type-C port. It has a really nice clip, although I wouldn't necessarily keep it in my pocket, but it kind of bridges the gap between the large everyday carry lights and maybe holster carried lights. It does have the option of getting either a high CRI like this one or a cool white. And so for that, I think I got to put it even higher. I think I have to put it up here. Just because it doesn't cost the same as the Seeker 4, both in price and also in proprietary nature. Like, the fact that this is proprietary is an issue. And I found also that the E75 had a better magnet, stronger. So it makes a big difference when you're attaching it horizontally to something metallic. So that's kind of where this sits. Obviously this is here. Oh my God, I just realized I missed one more from the last category. HD01. This is another flat flashlight. It's a fantastic offering from Wurkkos. This one was also one of the best, and one of the best I reviewed. So that's pretty much it. I'm sorry about including these in the third category, but I don't want to miss them. Let's close this out. Well, that was motivating. So not only am I getting rid of most of the lights that fell below the line, there's a bunch of others that I decided to remove as well. So if you're wondering how, I will be doing a Whatnot show probably this Friday. You can follow me on Whatnot to find out when that show is listing, where we will get rid of the majority of these. Some will be given away and some will be sold. But that has been a really great way for me to pass on tools to people who might want them. And most of these will start at a price of $1. So thank you for hanging out with me through this process of culling my gear. I feel lighter already, being able to get rid of all of these flashlights. Do you agree or disagree on where I put some of these models? Let me know down in the comments. As always, thank you so much for your time. We'll talk again soon.